Azure AD conditional access policies, based on Microsoft Intune compliance policies with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint device risk levels, can block at-risk devices. This video demonstrates how to configure this capability. There are 3 steps to configuring conditional access based on Microsoft Defender for Endpoint device risk levels. First, enable integration between Defender for Endpoint and Microsoft Intune in both products. Second, create a Microsoft Intune compliance policy using Defender for Endpoint device risk. Third, create an Azure AD conditional access policy that requires devices to be marked compliant in order to gain access. Sounds like a lot, but it's really straightforward, and the first step is easiest. In Microsoft Defender Security Center, enable the Microsoft Intune connection. Then, in Microsoft Intune, turn on the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint connection. Using this connection, Defender for Endpoint will update Microsoft Intune with device risk levels. The second step is to create a compliance policy in Microsoft Intune. That's next. In Microsoft Intune, compliance policies are on the Device Compliance blade. Select Policies and create a new one. The name is required. The more descriptive, the better. And you have to select a platform. Defender for Endpoint rules require Windows 10 or later, so I'll go with that. To get to the rules, select Settings, followed by Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. The policy requires devices to be at or below the value you choose here. Otherwise, it marks them non-compliant. In this case, a low maximum risk level is a workable compromise between security and end-user productivity. As a result, Microsoft Intune will mark every device with medium or high risk as non-compliant. All that's left is to assign the policy. Because I want to block all medium and high-risk devices from getting access to corporate data, I'll keep it simple. Assign it to all managed users and save the assignment. To avoid getting locked out of the tenant, I wouldn't assign it to global admins. A compliance policy on its own does little more than mark devices compliant or not. So you also need a conditional access policy that makes compliance a requirement. That's next. Azure AD conditional access policies support many scenarios, but in this example, I just want to prevent non-compliant devices from accessing corporate data. Name the policy, and then, to make it global in scope, like before, I'll assign it to all managed users and all cloud apps. Then, grant access to compliant devices. The compliance policy I created earlier will take care of determining that. The last step is to enable and create the policy. Next, I'll demonstrate what this looks like from the user's perspective. This device is at a high risk level due to a number of unresolved security alerts. As expected, the Microsoft Intune compliance policy marked this device as not compliant. A little to the right, you also see the device risk level from Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Based on this, I expect the Azure AD conditional access policy to prevent any user on this device from signing into our cloud apps. Signing into a SharePoint Online site seems like a surefire way to test this theory. As expected, the policy blocked the sign-in. Notice the message telling me to hold tight while Defender for Endpoint tries to remediate the threat and bring my computer back into compliance. Security Center indicates that an automated investigation is running on the device. It shows the alert that started the investigation, files it analyzed, and the threat it found. Since I configured the machine group for fully automated remediation, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint automatically remediates the threat once it completes the investigation. As a result, Defender for Endpoint now shows that the machine has no known risk, and the Microsoft Intune compliance policy once again marks the device as compliant. Based on the machine's good standing, I expect Azure AD to grant access to me on this machine, and sure enough, it works. This time around, Conditional Access has judged my device to be worthy of connecting to the site.